Hello class, today we are going to be talking about adolescence and adulthood. So this is chapter 20. We're going to talk about sections 1 and 2. So on page 514, you're going to learn about how the body changes when you're an adolescent. So you guys are adolescents, you're teenagers, and your body goes through so many changes. Just imagine how you looked when you were a sixth grader to how you are now as a freshman or a sophomore or junior or even a senior. Your body's changed a lot. Maybe you were really short and now you're super tall. Like my son, my gosh, last summer he grew, I would say 8 inches in one summer. So now he's like 6 foot and he towers over me. And your body also goes through a lot of changes when it comes to your appearance. Like you may or may not have a lot of acne. You may find out that your hair might be changing color and or like texture. Like sometimes through puberty, people have wavy hair and then it goes straight, or straight hair goes wavy. There's a lot of issues that occur to that because of your hormones. So you have secondary sex trait characteristics, and there's a diagram on page 515. Talks about what happens with boys and girls together, and then what happens specifically with the female and what happens specifically with the male. As you learned before, of the anatomy of the male and female, totally two different types of anatomy and people. So again, your reproductive system's a factor, your appearance is a factor. I talked about height. Now, muscular-wise, muscle mass improves a lot with boys and also girls. So of course, you have muscles too. But if you remember back in middle school, maybe some of the girls were taller than the boys, and maybe some of the girls were able to, out throw or out push up or outrun some of the boys. And now the boys are kind of matching up and maybe even going faster than girls, or they're able to have more muscle mass, and it's normal for both. And you may also have some growing pains in the sense that, like, it's called Osgood-Schlatter, where your bones are growing faster than your muscles. So you have a lot of hard time with your joints and your ankles and knees and hips. There's a lot of pain for that, and there's not really much you can do other than maybe take Advil and ice. But if it gets severe, then you would go see a doctor on that. Your energy demands. You guys just want to sleep all the time. Your average teenager should have at least 8 to 10 hours of sleep. But remember, if you sleep too much, you feel worthless as well. So you need to make sure you are sleeping well, eating well, of course. And then you want to make sure that your hygiene is important and you're eating healthy. I'm not saying you can't have certain bad foods, of course. I mean, I have pizza, but make sure, you're eating good. And you also might realize that you're probably eating more than you normally do. Girls may eat more when they're menstruating, or they may not eat at all. You may be eating, both male and females, throughout the whole day, or big courses of food. It's because you're growing, your body is growing. Mental changes. Okay, so you're able to make decisions, right, good or bad, but your frontal lobe is not fully developed to about age 24, 25. But that doesn't give you an excuse when you're in that age, like, oh, I'm not, fully developed, that's why I make bad choices. No, you guys are well aware of what's good and bad and what's choices to make, but your decision-making process, your thinking, your abstract thinking, you're able to identify, the pros and cons. You're able to kind of figure out, your path. Of course, your reasoning skills are involved, and your impulsive control. So sometimes teenagers will make impulsive decisions, and of course you may regret it afterwards because you're not fully thinking of the consequences. It's really hard for adolescents to picture their life 7 years from now, 10 years from now. Heck, even if you're a freshman, it's hard for you to imagine as a senior, all right? So, you want to take small steps into picturing what you want in life. But again, sometimes an impulsive control or behaviors can have a side effect of negative attributes. Your reasoning skills are involved. You are able to possibly negotiate, maybe manipulate. So you want to make sure, that you're not being manipulated or taken advantage of, but you're using good decision-making skills. On page 518, it shows you a diagram, what's happening with your brain. So bear in mind, your peers are very important to you, but you want to make sure you still have high self-esteem back from day one. That way you're not coerced into making decisions that aren't good for you or your family's upbringing, like morals and values. Emotional changes. So of course, you're searching for your own identity. There's some adults that still don't know who they are, but you're trying to figure out, where's your fit? Like, where do I fit in? What social group fits in for me? You're searching who you are as a person. What do you like and don't like? And that is totally normal, trying to figure out who you are. And that's why you should take a variety of classes in high school, join different clubs and activities, possibly get, a part-time job. And if that doesn't work for you, then find a different one, because you don't really find out what you like until you try something. And then you realize, oh, that's really not for me. Your values are sometimes tested, and your values are from basically where your family comes, like what your parents or guardians raise you as. And I mean, society tells you it's wrong to steal and cheat, and it's wrong to murder someone. Of course, so you don't really need parents or guardians to teach you that. Society teaches that. But unfortunately, some people's values are obscured. They are challenged. Maybe you may not believe everything your parents or guardians tell you because you have a different opinion, and that's okay to have a different opinion, but you don't want to compromise who you are as a person. Your integrity is so important. Once you ruin your reputation, it's really hard for you to clean it up and get it back to the one that was positive. So your integrity is very important to you. So you want to make sure you understand those aspects of chapter 20, section 1, and the vocab. I would like you to glance over 522 just to read what it means about setting goals. You want to set goals like small steps for success. That's what I always say. So ideally your goal is to pass my class, to pass all your classes, to graduate from high school, to hopefully, go to a trade school or a community college or a 4-year degree, and perhaps beyond. So you want to have small goals, and how you reach those goals is being realistic and possibly write them down if you have to. Know the pros and cons of the goals. If there's obstacles, overcome them. Try to get support system. Mark deadlines. Like we have deadlines for our assignments, right? So maybe that is your goal. Oh, I have to get this done by this day. Okay, cool. I'm done. Move on to the next step. So just glance over that. Okay, so now we are moving forward to section 2. So now I'm on 524, adolescence and responsibility. So some of you may have a lot of responsibilities, some of you may not. There's some teenagers that, have a lot of adult responsibilities because maybe your parents or guardians work, both of them work, or one of them work, and you might have to take care of your siblings. You may have to take care of some chores around the house, and everyone has to do that because, none of us are billionaires that have someone clean our house for us. But you want to make everyday decisions. So what is your task for health class? What are you going to choose to do to get done and get that out of the way so you can move on to the next task? You want to make sure that you refuse any negative thinking or feedback or influences. So again, those poor choices by people that you may hang out with, they influence you. But again, you're the one that makes the final decision on that. Thinking about your future. Okay, you can think about your future, of course. Like I mentioned, graduate from high school, maybe go to a trade school, maybe go to a community college or 4-year, or even maybe join the military. You have goals and dreams. You should at least try to start thinking about them and figure out how you're going to get to that path. Now, be in mind, your goals and dreams or your future could change, and that's okay. That's totally fine. Know your role in your family. We mentioned about family before when we were talking about health relationships amongst the family. What is your role? Are you the motivator? Are you the one that is support system? And make sure you understand the word autonomy, because hint, hint, that might be on your quiz. Hint, hint, autonomy. So roles, your role in the family. Make sure you know that. Responsibilities to your family. So what do you have to do to have in your family that you have to do? For example, in my family, my 3 kids, when they're home, they have certain things like maybe the dishes or vacuuming or walking the dog, stuff like that. And if they don't do those tasks, then they're not able to go out with their friends, or there's some type of consequence. But nothing too major. But again, in my family, it's pretty much all adults now. My youngest is 16, so then I have 18 and a 22-year-old. So, of course, we're pretty much all adults. So we can clean up for ourselves. We can help out around the house. But again, when you communicate the tasks that need to be done, it should be respectful. And again, your parents paid for a house, or whoever you live with, and you probably can't afford rent, which is an average of $1,000 a month, depending on where you live. So again, give back, help out, even if you're not told to do it. Trust me, as a parent, it's nice if my kids empty the garbage cans and put them out to the side of the street without even being told to. That's huge, makes me smile, reduces my stress. So, and therefore, maybe, they want to go out and come home a little later at night, then I might say yes. So you want to cover that aspect. Responsibilities to your friends and responsibilities to the community. So to your friends, that could be, I don't know, maybe you and your friend have study time together, or you work together in your carpool, or you, are meeting up for anything. So you want to have the responsibilities of your friends. You want your friends to be dependable on you as well as you depend on them. You want them to be good listeners. You want to be a good listener. So basically that mutual respect. So like if your friend said, hey, I'm coming over, and they don't, why? What's going on? Why are you not? A friend says, hey, do you have $10 I can borrow? Sure. When can you pay me back? Oh, next Friday. But the next Friday comes and goes. The next Friday comes and goes. So you might need to talk to your friend about being responsible, paying you back. So stuff like that. Responsibility to your community. This is more like, I would say, well, if you're in band and you have to come to band practice, if you're in a sport, or if you have a job that you have to go to, you have responsibility to that. Maybe you guys belong to a youth group and you guys help with charity. You have responsibilities to follow through on that. There's some high school kids that are tutors to other kids, so like they're peer tutors. And if a specific teacher at the high school or wherever you're at is expecting you to be there at a certain time and help individuals out, and you don't show up, that's not being responsible. That's not being a mature adult that you're trying to be. So section 1 and 2, you want to make sure you cover all the aspects I talked about. Read about the goals again. I'm not expecting you to do any writing about the goals, but just read about it. And then make sure you do the vocab for sections 1 and 2. All right, I'll see you in a few minutes. We'll talk about the next sections.